Welcome to the PeaceWalker project. I wanted to take about 7 minutes of your time and explain our methodology and give you a better understanding of what the PeaceWalker project is and how it can help you in your career and your life. So first off, what we want to understand is that the world is filled with conflict. There's conflict in our jobs, there's conflict in our personal lives, there's conflict in our schools, in our community, and obviously there's conflict globally. However, conflict is really not the problem. So if conflict isn't the problem, we have to think of what is the problem. And the problem really is our perspective and our habits of how we were taught to handle conflict. You see, there are two types of conflict. There's negative and positive conflict. Now, negative conflict is when conflict is approached with the wrong attitude and either the wrong tools or no tools at all. And usually from that, what happens is disrespect, justification for that disrespect, and violence, emotionally, verbally, and physically. So if you approach conflict from a positive way with the right tools and the right attitude, what you can accomplish is a greater understanding of yourself and the other person and the other group of people or the circumstance. You can develop greater innovations, live a much more fulfilling life. And at the very least, what you'll do is you'll gain data that will tell you how to address the situation and the person. If you can make sure that you are not the problem, it's amazing on how the other person will communicate to you how to resolve the issues. So it's very tactical in its methodology as well. The scientific process is made up of a thesis and an antithesis. So those two things come together and it creates a new solution, a new idea altogether. So the idea of conflict is very much part of our evolutionary process. That's how we continue to progress in our own lives, in society, and in the world. So we have four very simple but not necessarily easy steps of the PeaceWalker project. The first one is to see, the second is to embrace, the third is to work, and the fourth is to share. What we want to do is start seeing conflict as an opportunity. Opportunity to grow, an opportunity to discover, and at the very least, as we said, an opportunity to gain data that can tell you how to better manage the situation and the people. What we want to do is embrace the universal life value, that all life is to be protected and respected. That is the cornerstone of our entire approach. That was developed by Dr. Robert Humphrey during the Cold War. He used it very successfully overseas and domestically with everything from military usage to schools and gang activity, this type of thing that has really proved to be beneficial for the past, probably 50 years. Next, we want to work towards most good, least harm for everyone involved. And we want to try to share this concept through inspiring other people. This is our methodology of leadership. It's inspiring people to connect at a deeper level, to do the right thing, and have a leadership model that is reflected from you by what you do, what you say, how you treat people, rather than trying to intimidate people to do what you would like them to do. Now, all this is a great philosophy, I know, up until what? Up until we feel threatened in some way. We can feel threatened emotionally, verbally, physically. We can feel threatened in our beliefs. This is very common. So you might be asking yourself, well, where is the real conflict? Is it internal or external? And the answer is, it's both. The better that we can manage our internal conflict, the more effectively we can manage our external conflicts. When dealing with other people, especially in a stressful situation, well, we need to understand that everyone's stuff is just as important to them as your stuff is to you. Everyone has a different perspective. I love this comic here. Both women are feeling that the other are being subjugated by a cruel male-dominated culture. However, we, from our cultural perspective, probably identify more with a bikini-clad girl. And it's funny how each of the different gals, their perspective is from their cultural beliefs of how they were raised. We need to be able to take a person's life value and separate it from their actions. We cannot let someone's actions justify our disrespecting their life value or us putting someone else's life value in jeopardy because of their actions. The only time that we would choose to defend, which may mean emotional, verbal, or physical, is when that person's actions are contrary or going against respecting a life, or that they are endangering a life that we have to protect. So in order to do this, we need to be the eye of the storm. So basically, we need to be able to keep our emotions under control while we do the right thing to do and act professionally and ethically. It helps us, in order to do this, is to have a map, to understand our own behavior, how we're going to probably respond under stress, as well as the other person's behavior, and how to identify some very basic human traits so we have expectations if we are dealing with someone, if we're on step 2 of a 10-step process, that we don't get frustrated and think that we are not going to gain results when in fact we are on the road to having this person change their behavior. But we just need to continue doing the next step until we're able to complete the process. So being the eye of the storm and having maps help you to understand what tool that you need to use for the situation. Again, we want to understand who we're dealing with and how to handle the situation, and if possible, create an ally rather than an enemy. So you might be wondering to yourself, well, what tools? In the PeaceWalker project, we will give you a number of different tools, starting with ethically, emotional tools, verbal tools, and physical tools. So all these tools are very important in order to deal with people and deal with conflict in a much more effective manner. The 5 essentials of conflict management are this: having a compass, basically understanding what true north is, and that is simply the universal values that we go into great detail on. Being the eye of the storm, which means being calm, confident, being in control of your emotions, and having the proper attitude. Having a map that tells us what to expect in ourselves and in other people. Having tools, which is a specific tactic and technique, a step-by-step approach, ethically, emotionally, verbally, and physically. And then finally, reinforcement. How to have methodologies of constant practice, how to activate and reactivate this feeling, and understand dynamics of leadership, and how training helps us to continue to be on track. Because these things need to be activated. Knowledge just isn't enough. You listening to this program is great, and you going to a workshop is great as well, but we have very specific methodologies on how to activate this process inside of you, and how that can then transfer into utilizing your tools much more effectively. So in review, the PeaceWalker project has 4 basic principles. 1, to see conflict as opportunity. 2, to embrace the universal life value, that all life is to be protected and respected. Number 3, to work towards the most good, least harm for everyone. And number 4, to share through inspiration. And through that, as good old Mahatma Gandhi said, we can all be the change that we wish to see in the world today. And with that, my name is Craig Gray. I appreciate you listening to this very brief intro. And if you have any questions, please contact me at one of the numbers or email on this particular website. And I hope to see you soon.